Welcome to Round Glass. Thanks for joining me in this meditation on how to beat forgetfulness. I'm Sarah Blackburn. You know, when you're there and you're trying to meditate, and then you find that you keep forgetting what you're meditating on. Or perhaps in your everyday life, you start doing something, get distracted, and then before you know it, you forgot what your original intention was. What was that thing you started doing in the first place? If any of this sounds familiar, we'll talk about in today's session ways that you can beat that nasty habit of forgetting both in your meditation and out in your everyday life. And I'll share with you some practical tools you can use to overcome the tendency to forget. But before we dive in, I wanted to check with you and see what you already do. So, when do you often forget? And what do you do to help yourself remember? If you can take a moment and share that in the chat, that would be really great. And then while you're doing that, I'll quickly tell you the plan for this session. We've been talking about techniques to improve visualizations when we meditate. And in this session, we're going to specifically talk about forgetfulness. And I'll share a couple of tools to help you beat it so that you can become a better meditator. And then hopefully that will have a big impact on your life. And now it's time to hear from you what you said you do to help yourself remember in those common times when you find you frequently forget. So thanks everyone who shared in the chat. I see here that someone shared when they're multitasking or when they're stressed, they frequently forget. Oh my goodness. Yes, me too. Oh, and also someone shared when I'm tired. I completely agree with you. Those are common times when our mind quickly forgets what we were doing. And then someone else shared that it's helpful to write things down to help them remember. That's a really powerful tool. Yeah, it's good once you get in the habit of that. And then we have someone else who shared that they like to take a beat and a breath, and that will help them remember. Those are all amazing ways that you've come up with all on your own to beat this tendency to forget. And thank you so much for sharing. It's so nice to know what you already do and hear each other. So, we are discussing visualizations, which is that ability to see with your mind's eye. And the thing is, we actually do it all the time. If I ask you to describe your bedroom to me, you could probably do that by thinking about it, remembering what it looks like, and describing it to me. So, why is it important to get good at visualization in a meditation, for example? Well, like I mentioned, we are visualizing all the time. If you have ever found yourself lost in seeing the worst case scenario, or maybe you've been fantasizing about a future event like going to a tropical location for your vacation, our minds already have a tendency to visualize things. But if we can build on a skill that we already have, it can help us to gain control of our consciousness, which is such a big part of why we meditate. Your consciousness is the number one thing that you cannot escape. It's with you no matter what. So if you're able to improve your meditation and take ownership of your consciousness, you can have a really powerful effect on your life. So we're talking about forgetfulness, and let's get clear on what it is that we're actually forgetting. In meditation, we have an object that we're focusing on. It's the thing we decided to think about. And when you forget that object, it's a very common thing. In fact, in the meditation world, it's called forgetfulness. And we already talked about in life, it's when you're focusing, but then you get distracted, and before you know it, you've lost a lot of time, and it can create bigger problems. So here are two simple things that we'll practice in this meditation that can help overcome forgetfulness. The first one is, it's technically called remembering, but it's remembering in a special way. In that moment, when you realize that you forgot the object of meditation, you call that a wake up moment. When you realize, oh, I forgot what I'm meditating on. That act of waking up is actually subconscious. We don't have control over it in the moment. But like I said, you want to remember in a special way. In that moment when you wake up, if you can have joy and be kind to yourself, like, oh my goodness, I'm so grateful I noticed that I forgot what I was meditating on, you'll program your subconscious mind that remembering the object and staying focused feels good. Then the second tool is a thing called labeling. What that is when your mind gets distracted and you have that wake up moment, remember first to be happy you caught it. And then second thing to do is give that distraction a label. So if you notice, oh, I was distracted because I was thinking about my partner, you can quickly give the distraction a label, my partner, and then come back to what you were focusing on. Maybe it was your lunch that distracted you. Quickly label it lunch and then bring your mind back to the object. So what's that got to do with visualization? When we visualize, it's easier to remember the object and notice our distractions. So all of these come together as great tools to improve our meditation. And with that, let's begin. Find a comfortable position and set yourself up to meditate for the next 15 or so minutes. Once you get comfortable, begin to lengthen your spine, relax your shoulders, and soften through your face. If it's comfortable for you, you can let your eyes fall closed. Or if not, let your gaze be downward so you're not distracted by things in the room or the space where you are. And then notice any areas of tension in the body. And use your exhale to release those places. As you settle in, remember what brought you to this meditation today. Really connect to that intention you have. And you can come back to that motivation if the meditation gets difficult. It can help carry you through. Now begin to follow the sensations of breath as they move in and out of your body. Wherever those sensations are the most prominent, place your mind there and zoom in to the movements that you associate to breathing. And then we'll begin the visualization. So start to imagine that you are seated in your ideal meditation spot. Picture yourself in an environment where you naturally relax. Perhaps it's in a cabin on a mountainside, or maybe it's in a tropical location, perhaps on a beach, or in a beautiful forest next to a lake. Whatever associations you already have to relaxation, bring those cues into your mind and begin to create a space that is the most conducive location for you to settle in and work with your own mind. See yourself seated in meditation posture, and take a couple moments to look around at this beautiful spot. Try and notice some of the detail. Then as you are looking around, you notice that someone has joined this meditation location with you. This person is kind, and you can sense their benevolence. They have joined you to be of service for you in this meditation today. And they sit down in front of you. You feel safe in their presence. And as you look at them, you begin to recognize that they are someone who deeply inspires you. And whoever comes to mind first is just perfect. See this person in front of you take on the form of that mentor or that inspirational guide who you absolutely adore. Take a couple moments just to be in their presence. You can sense that they want nothing but the very best for you. And then continue to look at this person in their eyes and see if you can bring some clarity to the state of mind that is watching them. As you connect with them without words, let your mental energy have a vibrancy and a relaxation that is alert and bright. And then with this clarity, begin to add to it an intensity of focus. If you hear any distractions coming from my end, let it be part of your meditation. It can remind you to keep your intensity. Notice if the mind is bouncing around from thing to thing. And if so, first remember to be happy when you notice. Then quickly give the distraction a label and come back to that person who is here meditating with you in your mind. Keep your eyes fixed on them as you bring intensity to the thing you are visualizing. Keep your gaze on this person. Keep noticing more and more details about them. You can even incorporate more senses into the visualization. Perhaps there's a sentiment that comes when you're in their presence. Or maybe you notice their scent, or they share kind words with you. Keep your focus on this person in front of you, meditating with you in your mind. And remember, if your mind wanders from the visualization, first be happy that you noticed that you forgot what you were meditating on. Be gentle and playful with yourself. Label the distraction and come back to the visualization. Now bid this person farewell. Thank them for appearing in your meditation today. Let that meditation spot begin to dissolve in your mind, knowing that you can return to this location at any moment simply by thinking of it and placing yourself there when you need it. Reconnect to the present moment by noticing the sounds around you. Following your breath. You can begin to bring yourself out of the meditation in your own time. Move your body when you're ready and open your eyes. So thank you so much for joining in that meditation with me. I hope there were some tools there that you can take away and use in your own practice. And we still have a few minutes for any questions or comments that may have come up during that meditation or just around the topic in general. Please share those in the chat. And while you do that, I wanted to share something that people often wonder about as they do a visualization practice. and start to learn these different meditation techniques. And that has to do with how they can use it in their everyday life. And my answer is that in the same way you use the techniques of being happy when you notice that your mind wandered, that you forgot, and labeling those distractions, you can use that in everyday life. So remember that scenario where we said that you start doing something, another thing comes up and you kind of get lost in it, and then you kind of forget what you originally wanted to do. When you notice, oh, I was doing something else, in that moment when you wake up, it's really important that you are kind and gentle with yourself. Why? Because, like I said, that tendency to wake up is actually a subconscious function of the mind. And if in that moment that we wake up, we are hard on ourselves, we're essentially telling our subconscious mind that the act of remembering and waking up doesn't feel good. And our minds, our subconscious minds on the deepest level, are always moving towards what feels good and moving away from what feels bad. So we want to tell ourselves that it's really good when we remember, that it feels good to focus and to come back to the object of meditation. And in our everyday lives, we can do the same thing and begin to train ourselves to be more kind and less critical, not only to ourselves, but to others. And then that same habit of labeling the distraction is also helpful in life. We often get lost in the stories that come up in our mind or the things that happen throughout the day. But if instead of getting lost in the story, we can simply notice the distraction and give it a label and just say, that's my stress over emails, or that's my concern about a presentation in a couple weeks, and then come back to what we were doing, that can really help us start to recognize distractions more quickly. Then we'll be able to notice the undercurrent of our mind and address it later when we have more time, or when it won't be as big of a distraction to what we were already trying to do. So with that, I also noticed that we have some people who wanted to share in the chat some questions about how to apply this. And so thank you again for sharing. I want to highlight someone who asked, when I'm busy, how can I still remember to focus? Perfect question. So when there's so much going on, knowing ahead of time that that's a common time that we'll get distracted and forget what we are doing can already help by allowing you to prepare ahead of time. Meaning you can visualize thinking through that day that you know is going to be busy and maybe getting everything done, or see things going smoothly in your meditation. Then when it comes to remembering to focus, I would say to practice applying those two techniques. When you notice a distraction, give it a label, and then be kind to yourself that you noticed. I'm telling you, it really makes a big difference over the long haul, because you're reprogramming your subconscious mind. So try those out for a while and see if they work. And then we have another person who shared, they've got a question asking for tips for how to deal with wanting to move around physically when they meditate. Yes, happens all the time. Very good question. The first thing I'll say is, as usual, be kind with yourself. We're not used to being still and awake at the same time. Usually when we're still, we're sleeping. So it's not the most common or normal thing for the body at first. So be gentle with your body. And then the second thing is to practice, or I guess I'll say to try out a few different physical postures. If you can sit with your hips higher than your knees, it can make a big difference in your level of comfort in the lower half of your body. And then a straight spine, relaxing the shoulders will help. And then the last thing I'll share before we have to go is that each time you stretch the amount of time before you adjust your body, you're building up a mental muscle not to give in to the physical distractions, which will carry over into the mental distractions later. So just be kind with yourself and stretch that amount of time before you move. Okay? I hope that's helpful. And remember, you can meditate with Round Glass Live every single day. So join us tomorrow, same time, same place, and check us out at round.glass and on our app. I'll be back again next Monday, and I look forward to seeing you then. Bye now.